It's BB and Dealey, we know you have been waiting, so here's another podcast about movies, Burn After Watching.
Welcome to the Burn After Watching podcast, everyone. It's Halloween. Officially, this is actually releasing on Halloween, so happy Halloween, everyone. Ooh. Today, I'm Borderland, and I'm Borderland every day, but today we are with Dan. He's back from his Euro trip, joining us for one more episode for Halloween.
Hello. I was about to say something in one of the countries that I visited, but I do not recall, so happy Halloween.
You don't remember where you were, or like in the language that they were speaking?
I can't remember how to say hello in Czech. I think Czech's Prague, Vienna, Budapest, but I just can't remember hello. So, hello.
Hello. All right, this is the last episode of our Spooktober, October horror month, and we are doing Hollywood classic. Today we're going to be talking about The Exorcist, the original 73 Exorcist, and The Ring, which I had never seen The Exorcist. I had seen The Ring, but I was very young and I was traumatized, so I didn't remember much. Did you? Was it the same thing for you?
Yeah, I haven't seen The Ring. I think I saw a 10 minutes of the version that had John Cho. I think it's like many sequels afterwards, but I haven't seen the original of either.
Oh, okay. So both of them were brand new for you.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So before we go into that, we saw a few movies that I think we should talk about, since they are kind of hot on the streets. People can get the recos. First one I want to talk about, we might talk about it a bit more, me and Mary, later on. We saw The Substance. I want to talk about it because it's kind of an horror film. It's kind of a gory film. Actually, it is gory. It's kind of like body horror. Really nice, though. 2 hours and 20 minutes, a bit long for me. But visually, like, it's insane. It's super creative, super well shot, super cool, like, ideas. The first hour and a half, like, it's, to me, it felt like almost like a 4.5 out of 5. It was like really good the first hour and a half. It's like a big comment on like the beauty industry. It's like this kind of older famous celebrity that is basically getting canceled from her show because she's too old and getting replaced by a younger girl. And then she takes like the substance, which like create a second version of her. That is like younger and better in every way, and basically they have to switch. They have to like be 1 week in, 1 week out. So both of them are two individual person and body, but basically one of them has to kind of be in a coma for 7 days, and it's just a very cool concept that is really well executed. At the end, it gets very body horror. I mean, there's body horror throughout, lots of bloody scene, a lot of like nasty stuff, and it's like really showing you everything, so you have to have like some guts. It was not too bad, but at the end it gets really like almost Tarantino-esque bloody, and it just keeps going. Like you feel like, okay, we reach kind of a point where the story feel like pretty explored, but they're like, no, let's take it one step further. What if this, and what if this, and what if this, and what if this. And to me, at some point it reached okay, like this is a bit too much. Like I prefer if it stopped a bit earlier. Mary loved it even more than me. But it's a good time. I would say if you can catch it in the theater, great. If not, watch it. I would say, like, for me, it's in my top 10 right now. I think it's number 5 or 6. But it's a 4 out of 5 for me. I think for Mary, it's a 4.5.
Oh, wow. That's great recommendations for a movie that's in theaters right now.
Yes. Dan, I would say, like, it's not scary, so I think you could watch it, but it is gory. But the first hour and a half is really solid. It reminds me of like Crank. I don't know if you saw Crank.
Oh yeah, that was great.
With Jason Statham. It reminded me of like that style of like so much energy. It's like, it's almost like the movie can't contain its energy. It's really well shot, and a lot of cool callback to like The Shining and like a lot of like classic horror. Like there's a lot of visual cool like little wink. Super nice. So check that out if you can. One other film that we both saw, it's a doc. It's called The Remarkable Life of Ibelin or Ibelin. I watched this Monday morning while eating breakfast. I was crying the entire time, like not just like tears, just like I had to stop eating, like losing my breath, crying. Like it kept catching me, and I was like, oh my god, like I need to stop and take a break. It's a doc about this teenager that has I don't remember the name. Duchenne disease, which is like impact his growth and his muscular ability. So he's in a wheelchair, can't really move or walk or anything like that. And he played World of Warcraft, one thing that he can actually do every day. And he built this entire life. And when he passed away, his parents realized that he had this entire life in online, and that he basically had friends and just tons of things that they discover. And it's kind of like rebuilding the story of his life online. But it's really cool because they actually recreated some of the World of Warcraft scenes that he was in, basically because the group that he was in were keeping logs of everything, like I think it was 40,000 a page of logs and dialogues and voice chat that they had, and they were able to kind of recreate some of his moment of his life online through like World of Warcraft. It's really well made, beautiful, super touching. One of my favorite of the year. It's a 4 out of 5 easily, and I recommend it to you right away because I was like, this is so Dan. So I'm wondering what you thought. I know it's you told me a little bit, but let me know what you think.
Yeah, I think I also gave it a 4. It was very touching. It's like, to your point, it's like this kid who has like a muscle dystrophy, and he's just like deteriorating as he gets older. So he's the normal life of being a teenager is like taken away from him. He talks about like, as a 17-year-old boy in Norway, I should be chasing like pretty girls and riding a motorcycle. But his outlet is World of Warcraft. And if you've played World of Warcraft, I unfortunately haven't, because my computer that I had at the time wasn't good enough to run those the metrics or the machinery, so I never got to experience it. But he was able to play a different version of himself. It's role playing at its finest, and it's really beautiful, because the things that he wanted to do as a teenage boy was to like chase girls and like fall in love. And I thought it was really beautiful how in this digital space this person was able to have a fulfilling life in another realm or in a different space than the physical world. And it's like very sad. It's very touching. It's very beautiful. I think his name was Matt, is the main person, and his parents were able to see that his son was actually able to live such a fulfilling life behind the camera, because the parents were capturing every moment of his life. But what they couldn't see, and what the developers of this movie were able to do, was in that like transaction log, it has all the like emotions and like the physical things that they were doing in it. So like the hand touching, the kissing, like though it's in the digital space, it felt so real for Matt. So the movie's like an hour and 45 minutes. Probably took me 2 hours because I had to just stop and catch air, and it can really disrupt your day. 4 out of 5 stars for me. 100% recommend.
Yeah, I really, and I think the director did a good job. Like one little touch that I really like when they say at the beginning of the doc that he moved into his own apartment, which is just in the basement of his parents' house. They said something like, "Oh, he hanged like heart on the wall," and they show it to you, and it seems like just like something they just mention, and then it comes back later, and they kind of roll back time and go from like explaining how his character grew on World of Warcraft, and then some of the event that you saw as just something in his life in the physical world are directly tied with like this digital kind of role playing, and it put things into context. And I think the great thing is that it's not just digital. Like, yes, he built this life on World of Warcraft, but like they interviewed the people he was playing with, and like the real life repercussion that he had on other people. And it's not also just like super like rosy where everything is perfect. Like there's, I wouldn't call it drama, but there's like, there's imperfection with him, and it's nice that they were able to explore it. And I just thought it was just so well made. Really, really great. It's on Netflix, so just check it out. Definitely, I think right now my favorite doc of the year. I mean, I haven't seen him much, but really loving it. Hoping that it get at least nominated at the Oscars, so more people hear about it and check it out. Because something, the World of Warcraft aspect might be kind of like, some people don't. I don't know. I never played the game. I know nothing about the game, and I still thought it was great. So, yeah. Check it
Very
out.
good.
One last thing, Kneecap. I watched this
Oh.
this morning. I watched it last night and then I finished it this morning. It's a band. It's a real life band called Kneecap that did a movie about how the band came to be. It's an Irish, Northern Irish band, and a big component of their story as a band and in the film is how the Irish language is getting lost, and they want to protect it, and like singing in Irish as a hip hop band is one way that they believe can like keep the language alive without kind of the government forcing people to use the language. It's one way that could keep people interested in language, and it's just so sharp, so well made. It's like Train Spotting meets Crank meets. It's just like so much energy, so well directed, just fun. The movie is like half in English, half in Irish, so you have to read subtitle, but it's making a point in the movie, and it's actually executing in the music and also in the movie by like using Irish as a language, which I think is great. And it's just a really good time. You can rent it for like $5 on YouTube right now. I believe it's probably going to hit Prime at some point. But yeah, it's a really good time. Also my top 10 for the year. It's from this year and it's worth it. It didn't go to theater. I think it's too small of a film, but really nice. If you like hip hop, if you like kind of rebel kind of, group of teenager that just want to say like, fuck the government, fuck the police, and like, let us live our life. And it's just a good time. I truly recommend it. Great film. All four of them I watched recently, and they all in my top 10. So it's great to see a good film coming out, because I feel like for a while it was tricky.
I'll say like the Kneecap was like a funny one that you brought up. While I was in Vienna, we met these two English guys, and there's one dude named Liam. He has an Irish girlfriend. My girlfriend's also Irish, and he recommended Kneecap. So that's from the others. That's in Europe. Some English person saying Kneecap is like one of the best movies he's seen in 2024. So this is worldwide. Everyone loves it.
It's great, and I started to listen to the music of the band, and it's a good time. It's really funny.
Yeah.
It's super light, even though it's very self-aware of like what it's trying to talk about. So it's not heavy-handed. It's really light. It's fun, but it has a great message. And I think it's like 90 minutes. It's just great. Like
Nice.
it really like super easy. Maybe not something to watch with the family because there's a lot of swearing, there's a lot of drugs and a lot of sex, but definitely check it out.
Nice.
All right, let's get into it. I think we should start with The Exorcist.
Yeah,
That's
rip
good
it.
with you? Cool. Okay. First time I see it, and I don't know if you actually lived through this, but like I remember when I was younger, all the story you would hear about The Exorcist, like the one that top of mind, the obvious one is like pregnant woman will lose their baby watching the film.
Yeah.
Like they would actually like miscarriage because it was so scary. People were leaving theater. People were having heart attack. People were dying. Like this was like almost how do you call it? Like not local legend, urban legend about the film, right? Like you had those things that were not verified, but everybody was saying it. And man, I was like, man, this is crazy. And I remember the other thing that I was hearing a lot about was like, yeah, the director would have a gun on set and shoot the gun in the air next to the actor to like really scare them right before shooting the scene. And I remember like people, I don't know if people really believe it or they just told me this and like I was dumb enough to believe it and they were making fun of me. But I remember hearing this multiple times. And I had this like really this feeling where even if it might be a bit silly at some point, like the effect, it must be super creepy and like it must be really scary. Like it's not that old. And I thought, okay, like this is it. This is the big one.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like, and it's funny, we had a quick chat about it. The first scene, I had to be like, wait, am I watching the right film? Because it's starting kind of in the middle of like Egypt or something with desert. And I was like, all right, I guess it's like a origin story of like some demons. Fine. But dude, like the first 30 minutes, I think we're going to piss off a lot of people because I'm pretty sure that we agree on the film in general. It was so boring. It was setting up so much story and so much lore that really did nothing. It was I thought it was poorly setting up. It was spending a lot of time explaining things that really didn't matter at all. Like even the demon, fine, but like we don't need to know that much. Like you could cut the first, like, I mean, you can cut all the Egypt stuff.
Yeah.
And the movie would actually probably be better, because not knowing where he's from is more fun, I think, to me. And all all the priests and the people going to the houses and the actress, it just felt so useless. It really didn't do nothing for me. And it also showed that I really think the editing was terrible in this film. I don't know if you had this feeling, but scenes were just, someone would say a sentence, like they would say their dialogue, and then it would cut so like short, like so just feel like things were so abrupt. And also you had those weird sequences sometime out of nowhere where like the priest was like boxing. It felt like they just throw the scene in between two other scene, and without context. It didn't feel like it was useful. It was like giving me anything. The editing was terrible. And for a film that is like 2 hours long, why are things so like quickly cut and like so abrupt? Like it feels like a movie that should be taking its time, but it's because all this like desert Egypt stuff, all this like people talking about things that really like don't help at all. They don't serve any purpose. Because they wanted to keep all this, and probably they wanted to stay around 2 hours, they had to like cut short a bunch of things. Dude, it was messy. Like I was surprised how messy it is.
Yeah, it's a, to really like summarize it into a word, it's a clusterfuck. There's the Egypt part. Like I was trying to understand, like, does this like chrome coin looking thing, little statue, like this is what's gonna cause the demon? And it's very confusing, because this archaeologist, who's also a priest, who ends up doing the Exorcist in the last 15 minutes of the movie, so that means there's a gap of an hour and like 45 minutes when we first see this archaeologist priest dude, and then when he gets reintroduced into the movie. But he gets sick after touching the amulet, and then he's standing, like he's in the market, and all these people are looking at this very sickly looking white guy, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, this guy looks scary, but I just don't understand. Like, he is staring at the statue, he leaves the city, he gets sick, and then somehow comes back at the end because he's the single exorcist who can perform this exorcism. And it's just so choppy. It's just like, maybe reintroduce this guy like a bit earlier on in the movie, and not just dropping him back in an hour and a half later.
Yeah, I agree. Like I was really lost. Like for the entire time, I kept thinking, what was the point of all this stuff at the beginning? Like, why do we spend so much time with this dude? And when he came back, I was like, all right, but like, it didn't feel like a good payoff. And the biggest thing really is that it was not scary at all. Like,
no,
like it was laughable. I know that it's old, but like I watched so many old movies this month, like old horror film while I was traveling. I watched The House on the Haunted Hill from like 1959, and there was scenes that legit I was like a bit stressed. I was like, oh man, like they really, like some of it is goofy as hell, and I was like, hey, this doesn't work anymore. But like, I don't think it's because it's old. I think The Exorcist is like, it's reminding me of Jaws a bit, and I might piss off even more people. I rewatched Jaws recently. It's a good film.
Yeah.
Is it like an amazing film though? Not really. It's really clunky. It's super long. It's like overly long for the story it's telling, to be honest. Like, I have no problem. I'll watch a 3-hour film, no problem. If it's actually earning its watch time, like its runtime, it's fine. And like, I think like people just think of Jaws and they think about like, na. But even this is not really like, they're like used that much. There's a lot more like funky Peter Pan music playing the entirety of the film. Yeah, and I think like people like glorify or like, and like they remember one thing from it, or they kind of hear legend and like lore and like tons of things around the film, and they're more attached to the story than the film itself. And I think it's fine that if you grew up watching, The Exorcist, it's definitely different because we watched it for the first time, in our 30s. But even film that I watched when I was young, if I watch now, I can love them, but I can tell also that they are shit. Like, I love Jingle All the Way. I know it's a terrible example.
Oh, so good.
But it's my go-to Christmas movie. I love it to death. It's shit. It's a terrible film. Like, it's not terrible. It's like a 2 stars. It's not great. for a film, but I have nostalgia and I love it. And for me, it's amazing. But I can also, if someone tell me, is it a good film? I'll say, no, it's not necessarily a good film, but I love it. To me, like, this is like almost the same thing, but people don't want to admit that, like, maybe it's not as good as it actually is, which is kind of like how I feel about Jaws. It's a good film. It randomly became the first blockbuster. It was not the goal. It was a B movie that just got lucky, and it's well made and everything. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad film. I'm just saying, like, it's not that much better than like the other B movie monster film that were releasing that back then. Yeah. But they did like a lot of cool stuff, and it worked. And it became this huge phenomenon. It doesn't mean that the film is better because of it.
Yeah, like I think like if I was to somehow travel back in time and think about what was scary back in the 70s, I imagine that breaking religion is very scary. Like, you want to be a person of God, so that's one thing. You also, what tracks then and what tracks now is that teenagers are terrifying. And in this case, you have a teenager who's, I think she's 12,
Reagan.
And she is piercing herself with a cross and also speaking like a 40-year-old a man. It's at one point Reagan like backhand slaps her mom across the room. I'm sure, like, as a parent, you don't want your child to be being a little hellraiser. So, like, there's elements of, like, why it should be scary back then. But now in, like, modern day, to your point, I think it's people recognize the cult following of what this was back in the day. That poster you see of this movie where it's just, like, a house that's lit up and smoky, and there's a exorcist...
a priest?
The priest going in.
Yeah.
And then the music, to your point, the doo-doo, I can't remember what... Yeah, I can remember it in here in my brain. I can't repeat it in my mouth. But the second you hear it, which is in like the last 15 minutes of the movie, it instantly captures you. I'm like, this is what I was waiting for. I wanted to hear this. Essentially the equivalent of the Jaws theme song. Once it hit, it was so warm on me. Like, this is what I was waiting for. But yeah, it's just, the whole movie was corny. Like, the vomiting was like a slime green, like the things that kids play with these days, like when you buy slime. But everything was, it'd be scary to children, not scary to 30-year-old men.
What, is this the least scary film we've watched of all? Probably even less scary than The Relic, that I watched last week. I think it might be. Yeah, like I really didn't. I don't even want to watch it again. Like, it's not even one thing where it's like it's not scary, but I kind of like it. It was just boring.
Yeah, I think this is just like campy at best. It was more of like you have to watch it because it's like listed as one of the classic horror films, but it's not something that you can revisit. Maybe like the more modern takes. Like, I know there's one with Russell Crowe right now, and like, I fuck with Russell Crowe, but like I probably wouldn't watch this one again. Maybe the new stuff.
It's supposed to be the best one. That's the big thing. I guess the third one is supposed to be good too. That's what I heard. I think it might be one of those films where watching it now, I mean, I don't know. People still love it. I don't know if it's nostalgia. I don't know if it's like this sheep mentality where like everyone loves it, and it's really hard to say that you don't like it. I'm sure we're gonna get a ton of backlash, and I gave it a 2.5, right in the middle, right in the middle. Yeah. Not what I was expecting. I had a high hope. I thought this is maybe another Blair Witch Project where I can see myself looking at it again, but or like. It sucks because it's the kind of film I feel like you can really get lost into if you really like a film like this. There's so much lore and so much thing you can read about and behind the scene and video about the film. And like there's movies that like capture like Fight Club, right? Like people have talked and wrote about it. Like there's just so much to read about if you want to have extra material, but you have to really like the film for me to like, I have to like it to get lost in that stuff. Yeah. So I like Blair Witch Project. I read a bunch of things about it since. Like I keep kind of being like, oh, what about this? What about this? Like, so I was hoping for that, but it's a big no. So it's a burn for me, I think.
Heavy burn.
Burn in hell. All right, The Ring, 2002. Gore Verbinski, which I was like, oh, I don't remember watching anything from this guy, but he did like all the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, I love the pirates.
And Rango.
Ooh,
And The Weatherman. Have you seen The Weatherman with Nicolas Cage?
I don't think so. No.
It's a underrated film. I remember I bought the DVD randomly when I was like 16. Really good film. Kind of interesting. Worth giving a watch. But anyway, he directed this. And he directed Mouse Hunt. It's like a kid movie about a mouse. It's like Home Alone, but it's a mouse instead of a kid. I don't know if you ever seen that, but I watched this when I was like super young. Anyway, kind of a weird filmography. Yeah, The Ring, 2002. Naomi Watts is in this, which is interesting again, like big name actors in the 2000 in horror film. This is obviously a remake of a Japanese film called Ringu. And all I remember from watching this when I was a wee baby in 2002, 22 years ago. So I was what? I was 10.
Yeah. Damn.
Is the shot of them opening the closet, or is it like a bathroom?
Oh yeah, and then you see.
I think it's a closet, and then there's a dead body of the teenage girl. That moment, to this day, like even like a couple months ago, randomly I'll think about it. I'll I mean, at this point I didn't know what it looked like because I never went back to look. But I remember I'll open a closet and like it give me this weird feeling. I'll have a flashback to this scene. I'll be, ugh. You know how you give me like a little shiver. It's one of those things where like it like got stamped or like burned into my brain when I was young. But that's literally all I remember. Also like the weird green color the film had. I remember that, but that's all I remember.
Yeah, this I think like my first note of this movie was fuck this movie. It's just grainy, like what you're talking about, like the movie, like the film is like super dark, or like the tones make it seem like it's just gives like a very unnatural vibe, and it's super eerie, and like the whole build up to this movie where you finally get to Naomi Watts and her creepy ass son Aiden.
So creepy. This movie, like going into it, I was like hyping that this one was the scary one because you hear so much about like Ringu, like the Japanese version, which I will never watch, but this version, like I knew going in that it was gonna creep me out, and like it did. Like they were seeing the face of the dead body of like the girl Becca in the beginning. I was expecting a jump scare, but like seeing their face like all like messed up and deteriorated, it was great. It was irksome. And like the video itself, the tape itself, like it's just gross, man. It's just like a centipede walking, and like you see like bodies, I assume, of people in hell, like all mingled together, and there's like random trees, and there's just like very gross things. And I'll be honest, like I skipped over like the second it was like 10 seconds in, I was like, I'm done with this. So I don't need to see this video like 6-7 more times. They show it throughout the movie. But yeah, super creepy. This one irked me. Not as bad as Blair Witch Project, but like this one, it was just like intentionally scary. Like they knew the recipe to scare people, and suckers like me especially, like the lowest hanging fruit, and it did get me. Like the kids just make it scary. The video, like the actual girl herself, Rachel, or not Rachel, but Samara,
something like that.
Samara, yeah, I think it's Samara.
Like her storyline was like, yes, super messed up. Like dad wasn't a supportive person and essentially neglected her to a point where the mom kills her and pushes her into a well. But like, it's like, yeah, it got me. It got me good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I was that scared. I thought, like, I was surprised how much of an investigation it is. It reminded me of, like, Zodiac or something like this.
Yeah.
I didn't remember. I thought it was more, like, straightforward haunting kind of ghost movie, like more paranormal activity. Less like Naomi Watts is like actually seeking like the ghost or like to figure it out. So it's a lot more of an investigation. I thought it was the green color grading and the digital look kind of work. It gets a bit like, all right, like it's a bit one note. I mean, it is one note. It worked. It's really well shot for an horror film. Like you could tell like they know what they're doing. Like compared to most, like I think it's above most horror film in terms of like how well it's shot.
Yeah.
Like I think the jump scare of the closet girl, I saw it coming. It was probably the point where I got not scared, but like I jumped a little bit.
Yeah.
Everything else was not too scary to me. Like it's more tense.
Yeah.
And like actually the more tense moment for me was like Naomi Watts going to the dad's house and looking through like the tape, and this idea that like he's right behind her coming in. For me, like the like human being like fucking psychopath is a lot more scary than like some babies in a well. So the ghost aspect and everything was not scaring me that much. Especially like the last scene with the dude in his loft.
Yeah.
Where like she actually comes out of TV. It was it's because I've seen Scary Movie and like I know what they've done with that scene, and it's just so funny. Anyway, like I would say I was scared. Like I think to me still Blair Witch Project and The Descent are the two scariest one.
Yeah.
But this one is solid. I think this one is a better film than most. And even though it's not scary, it's more like tense, and I kind of like the story. I was really enjoying it. And then like, you know, they figure out who she is, they get her out, and then they bury her. And then the movie feels like it's about to end, and I really like that if that was the ending. And then our creepy weird son is like, oh no, you should have not done that. And then you realize that like that's what she wanted, and it's like a twist ending that now like she's like freed. That to me kind of like made the movie worse. I really didn't like that. I thought it was like cheap. Like I was happy that they solved it and they freed her, and like this idea that like she was giving people 7 days because that's how long she survived in the well.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's what
something like that. Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. Like even though it's kind of weird, like if she wanted to be found, why give people only 7 days? I understand that's how long. Like it's the whole like 7 days, blah blah blah. Like it's the theme of the film, or it's one of the storyline of the film. But like as a ghost, if let's say your goal is to be found, you should give people as much time as possible, right? Like make
like,
it 30 days.
Restarting every single time.
Why you kill them after 7 days? Like you have less chance of being found. Which, at first in my head, I was like, well, maybe it's like a curse thing, and if she needed to be freed, she's not in control. Then it's like another demon that is creating this scenario. But if our goal was to be freed so she can kill more people, then it doesn't make sense. She should give people as much time as possible to find her, because our goal is to be found so she can kill more people.
Yeah.
So, like that twist to me was unnecessary. I really didn't like it. I thought it was kind of just like really blah. I would have end the movie when they do a funeral and that's it. And last 15 minutes is the only weak point of the film for me.
Yeah, because I think they're just setting up for like all the sequels that they made afterwards. And I also thought that like it was a perfect ending, almost like a happy ending to a scary movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was now like the ending essentially like I have to make more copies to show the rest of the world so that we can survive, which is just
that was weird too.
I was like, just let the fucking kid die.
But yeah. So she figured out that she didn't die because she made a copy.
Yeah.
And then so she like basically like forced her son to make a copy, which her son is so weird. I don't know why you wouldn't want him to live, to be honest.
Yeah.
You had a way out of a weird baby. Like a scot-free way out to get rid of your weird baby, Naomi Watts, and you didn't take it.
Yeah,
so that's weird to me.
Yeah, the parent, the teacher of Aiden is a creepy kid's name. It's like, your son is like drawing like really messed up shit in class, and he's like,
her cousin died.
Yeah, like her cousin died like a couple days ago. It's like, oh, this was like a week ago, and you see the pictures, and it's like a horse and like a dead body in the ground. You're like,
also, them trying to make us believe that this creepy 7-year-old was friend with her cousin that was like 14 or 15. Actually, she
Insane.
might have been even 16. No 16-year-old would be friend with a cousin who's a guy. She's a girl. She's 16. Like, she goes to like cottages and like make up with her boyfriend. So like she's like even 16, 17. This idea that this kid would be sad that someone in his family, like extended family, has passed away, and like it just feel like they were trying to force this relationship as if they were friends. But it's like no way in hell a 17-year-old is friend with a weird 7-year-old.
They've that's where they lost 90% of the audience. It's like, this isn't real. That relationship's fake.
It felt so weird to me that they were trying to sell us on this idea that they were friends. I was like, why do we even care? It's actually creepier if they weren't friends, even if he didn't even know he had a cousin.
Yeah.
That was dead, and he was drawing weird thing. That was scarier than like them trying to explain what he would know this shit. It just didn't make sense at all.
I think that's a fair point. That's a very fair point. It's just like, you wouldn't be friends with your older teenage cousin.
I'm not even friend with cousin of my age. It's like, I mean, I know I'm not the normal person here because I'm not friend with a lot of people, but like being friend with a cousin is a bit weird, right?
Dude, full stop. I've known people who are like super friendly with their cousin. I'm like, bro, something's off.
It's really weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean the horse stuff and everything. It was neat. I didn't mind like where the story went.
Yeah.
The whole copy of the thing saved them is kind of weak of an explanation. I guess the thinking is that you're like a helper, where like you helping the demon kill more people because you're making copy, which mean more people can see the videos.
Yeah.
Which mean like technically you're a servant, like you're a helper of the demon, and that's why you don't die. But at the same time, like you can make a copy and just keep them somewhere. Like she was not giving that copy to a bunch of people either. She gave it to the dude which plot twist that, oh, that's the dad of the weird kid. I didn't remember that, and I thought it was like kind of smart. Naomi Watts and the dude kind of like see each other at first. They kind of flirty a bit, and then like a girl show up, and then I was like, oh, okay, so maybe they coworker, and she has a thing for him, and maybe there's a small story there, and then but he's dating someone else, and then it's like at some point she kind of dropped to him, that's your kid, so like, you know, Aiden is fine, that's your kid, blah blah blah, and I'm like, what? That's the like dad, like like I was like, that's a pretty well done thing. Like I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah. But like now that we're kind of like talking about like the details, like so the dad of Samara, he unalives himself in the pool with all the electrical stuff, and he's like, she never stops. Like, why did he kill himself? Because it doesn't seem like he actually saw the tape, and because if he saw the tape, he would have been dead. But he unalives himself.
Well, maybe he's the one that made the copy, the first copy.
Now there's rule sets around who
there's
can
rule
copy.
set. So if you make a copy, you don't die. That's why Naomi Watts doesn't die, and that's why at the end she makes Aiden make a copy, so she protect the kid. How did this movie end up in the motel in the first place? Because the motel is built on top of the well. Where like she's buried, and then they have a little movie collection for people to rent. Yeah. So like, did the dad make a copy to survive and then put it in there? I don't know, something like that. I'm not sure. He commits suicide because, in the bath, right, with the electricity. I don't remember. I don't remember why he does that. Just he can't take it anymore, I guess, at this point.
Something like that. Like I just feel like guilty? She never stops. Like that's like what I remember before he jumps in the bathtub. But like, almost like very sloppy connections as to why. Like if he's been able to survive this long, he should be fine. But in the video originally, you see the mom of Samara. She's like in the mirror, but we don't actually get do we get an explanation as to where the mom?
Did she kill herself? I think she killed herself.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, she jumps in the water. Yes. Remember?
But what did you end up rating this movie?
I give it a 3.5. I actually did like it. I thought it was well shot. The investigation stuff was fine. I just didn't like the twist. I would end the movie when they like on the happy note, I guess, and save everyone. And the copy stuff was dumb, so I didn't like that.
Yeah, I think I gave this a 3. I thought it was better as well in comparison to The Ring. And
like The Exorcist.
The Exorcist, sorry. And this did spook me, so it's what it planned to do, it did happen. I will say for both The Exorcist and The Ring, I got exposed to these movies watching Scary Movie, like the parody of these. And in The Exorcist, the priest is like making out with the demon girl, and in the parody of The Ring, the girl comes through the TV and the girl like punches her in the face. Like, that's amazing. It's almost like, why didn't the dude like roundhouse kick this little girl in the face? You know, it's almost like, why are you so afraid? You should do something. But yeah, very funny, very funny.
Are you saving The Ring? I'm saving it.
I'm gonna save The Ring.
Cool. I actually bought Blair Witch Project on Blu-ray because I want to watch it again. And I was like, you know what? If there was one of all those one that we watched this month that I would want to watch again, is that one. Like, let's say you had to pick one that you say was your favorite that you actually enjoy watching and you could rewatch. Which one would it
be? I would probably be the Blair Witch Project, just purely on like the Easter eggs. There's, now that I've read up on it on Reddit and like all the things that you can catch early on, I would want to see if I could like capture or like find those things before the end of the movie to see if things connect. So I'd watch it in like maybe in 10 years once it's in the summertime and it's like
full daylight, 6 a.m. in the morning. Awesome, man. Thank you everyone for joining us in this horror month. We are doing Conclave next, I believe. You also saw, we could talk about this Saturday night. You also saw, what are you going to see next? Something recently, or is it yesterday you saw something?
No. I saw Saturday night, and then I think we both watched The Wild Robot. I think you saw that recently as well.
Yeah. Stick around, subscribe, follow us, find us everywhere. You have a pun? You have an Halloween pun?
No Halloween puns. Don't accept fruit as candy, and stick to full bars if possible.